What is going on, YouTube people? Today, iconic cards going to the moon. Did this video back in April and looked at a bunch of just like hobby staples across multiple different sports. I primarily focused on retired players or players no longer active that wouldn't have any swings in their prices based off current on-field, on-court events. The one exception I made was LeBron, because his career is, for the most part, defined. But a lot of those cards, what we saw back in April, leading up to that point, and I forget how long of a time frame I looked back in April. I think it was a year, but pretty much exclusively, all of them were up. All of them were in the green and by decent margins. Football, classic football, Jerry Rice, Barry Sanders, Joe Montana rookies, things like that were a little Those ones had not performed as well compared to basketball and baseball. Now, one of the talks of the summer has been that these types of cards are seeing a lot of price movement upwards. It's something I noticed leading into the Nationals, specifically around the 89 Upper Deck Griffey. And I mentioned it the other day. I know the Spitballing guys did a video specifically on this card. I haven't seen it, though, because I'm not a patron member of those guys. So I don't know what they said about it, but it was one of the ones that I noticed leading up to the National. It had crept up to 4K for an 89 Upper Deck Griffey, and that was a pretty big bump up because it was one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, it's like a $3,000 card. And then I looked one day when I was poking around on something else, and I'm like, $4,000? When did that happen? And then I looked, and you could see it building right up to it. And you're seeing it more recently in the 03 LeBron Topps Chrome in a PSA 10. I'm seeing it in other cards. You know, I was recently going into the National. One of the cards that I was looking for was a Kobe 2008 Topps Chrome Refractor. It has LeBron on it. Right at the National, a PSA 9 was going for about $1,600. Couldn't find one, none on the market. Since the National, a PSA 8 sold for $1,200, which is kind of in line with a PSA 9, but a BGS 9.5 also sold for $2,700, and then another PSA 9 sold, I think, for closer to $2,000. So that card appears to be on the move out of nowhere, and a lot of other things are moving up. And we're going to talk about it in a second. I have a Jordan Scoring Kings in a BGS 8.5 that I've noticed has moved up quite a bit, because you walk around the show and you see a card that you own and you see a sticker on it that's way higher than what you thought it was worth. It's not a card that I check in on often. And I went and looked, and next thing you know, I was like, holy smokes. So these types of cards have really gained a lot of popularity over the last year or so. So what I wanted to do today is we're going to look back from when I recorded that last video, early to mid-April, through today, on pretty much all the same cards we looked at then, to see what they have done since then. And then I have a few other ones that I want to check in on that kind of fit this same criteria. So just really quickly, we're over here in Market Movers, link in the description down below if you want to play around with charts and graphs on your own. LeBron, PSA 9 Refractor, up about 20%. Jordan, 86 Fleer, PSA 8, up 50%. And if you're wondering about the grades, why didn't I do PSA 10? I tried to keep this in the range of affordability for the most part. You know, obviously a 10K for a LeBron Refractor is a little bit of a different story, but I tried to keep this in those general price ranges where they transact a little bit more commonly, hence the PSA 8 Jordan, not a 9 or a 10. 1980 Magic Larry Julius in a PSA 8, up 50%. Keep in mind, this is just from April. The LeBron Chalk Toss Refractor in a PSA 10, up 40%. Kobe Stardate in a PSA 9, up 46%. And then the aforementioned Jordan Scoring Kings in a PSA 8, up about 16% in that particular grade. So green across the board with some pretty large price movements on some of these cards. Let's look at the next tab here. This is all iconic baseball. And you're going to notice a lot of the same things. Once again, dating back to early April. Clemens, 85 tops, PSA 10, up 33%. 86 Bo Jackson, up 50%. 86 Barry Bonds, only up about 10% on this one. But you could see it did bump up and then it dropped back down again. So it could just be some weird things with sales there. Who knows? 87 Don Russ, Greg Maddux, up 30%. And then I just realized I had the wrong Griffey selected. I had the PSA 8, not the PSA 10. The PSA 10, Ken Griffey Jr., up 57% since April. Back in April, this card was going for $2,500. Now it's going for $4,000. What a crazy rise on that card. There is 4,216 in the PSA 10. And before I get all the comments about PSA pop control on that card, CGC and SGC both actually grade it tougher than PSA does. BGS is a little bit looser because of the Min Gem. All of the grading companies, it's not PSA pop controlled. All of the grading companies grade this card really tough. Most of them are around 3% gem rate or less. And Beckett is the highest at I think about 6. Someone can double check my math on that. But those were the gem rates are. This card is ridiculously tough to grade regardless of grading company. Okay, let's look at football. Tom Brady, Bowman Chrome, PSA 10, up 48%. Montana in a PSA 9, up 35%. Jerry Rice only up about 10% in a PSA 9 of his 86 tops. Tom Brady in just the regular Bowman in a PSA 9, up 42%. Barry Sanders, PSA 10, getting no love, flat. And the Peyton Manning Topps Chrome in a PSA 10, up ever so slightly at about 9%. So football seeing some love, but not as much as the others. And do keep in mind that the prior period to this was pretty flat when all the others were up a decent chunk. Now, let's look at some other cards. We did not look at these ones previously, so I extended the range on this back 180 days to February. But also what would classify as iconic cards or very collectible cards, end user cards, if you will. We have the LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 10. Talked about this card earlier, up 42%. We have the 1998 Jordan Kobe East-West Refractor in a PSA 9, up 60%. Charizard PSA 9 Unlimited Holo from 1999, up 40%. And then a 1992 Stadium Club Beam Team in a PSA 9, up over 60%. And then last but not least, Baseball Topps Tiffany. These have gone crazy over the last month or so. Once again, looking at PSA 10s, the Bonds up 60%, now $11,000. The 89 Topps Griffey, $5K, up 35%. The 87 Bonds up 100%. The 86 Bonds in a PSA 9 is up 40%. Even the PSA 9 is getting a big bump up. Same on the Griffey, a little bit less so. That one's up 20%. And the Bonds 87 and a 9 is up 61%. So old school, late 80s Topps Tiffany stuff, seeing a ton of love as well. Now, what does this all mean? I have no freaking idea. But cards like this that skirt the line of, I want to buy this to flip, but also are end user cards. And this is something I've talked about in the past. Make sure you're targeting end user cards if you truly want to hold for the long term. A lot of these cards are highly liquid. They're highly sought after, but they are also sought after for a lot of different reasons. People will buy these to invest in them. People will buy them because they want them for collections. They're iconic cards. And that helps take supply off the market. When you are transacting in end user cards, one of the big reasons you want to do that is because people are buying those cards and they're hanging on to them because they actually want to own them Wild concept, I know. But they actually want to have the card, own it, put it on a desk, on a cabinet, in a case, whatever. They truly want to own it. That takes it out of circulation for a period of time. And the pop counts on these are, it skirts that fine line of, if you really want one, you can find one, but it might not just be right there. I'm going to keep going back to it. I keep using that same example. The Kobe LeBron refractor, and I did not include that one on this list. I probably should have. You could find that card if you really want it. You might not be able to find it for the price that you want. You might have to, if you really wanted the card and you didn't want to be patient, you might have to smack the bin button on way over what the last one sold for, because the couple that are out there, that's what they're listed like. It skirts that fine line of the cards out there, but it's not. And I think that's an interesting area to kind of work in and out of. And like I said, a lot of these cards are just very popular. These are just very, very popular cards. And I could have added another 15, 20 cards onto this list, but you get my point. And we are seeing this across the board, all sports, even TCG. TCG vintage stuff has been really climbing lately as well. We showed it with the Charizard, but there's been other ones climbing as well. And it doesn't feel like, the nice thing about this time around, and I have no idea if this will last, if it's a bubble, what's causing it, when it's going to end. I don't have a crystal ball. It's a guy in a basement. At least this time through, the price movements feel slightly more organic. You're not seeing, in 2020 and 2021, cards would double, triple, quadruple over the course of a weekend. We are not seeing that as much here. Most of this is slow and steady. Well, maybe a little faster than slow, but a steady rise up. It's not boom, the next day it tripled in price. It's, over the course of the last 6 months, it tripled in price. That at least feels a little healthier. Now, the trick is, if the whole world goes tits up, then, a lot of this stuff is going to race back down again, because the opposite side of the spectrum is true as well. These cards, though rare, are not like insanely rare. They're not one of ones. So if all of a sudden everyone starts undercutting each other on a 86 Jordan and a PSA 8, that's going to come down in price. And the same can be said for all these cards. They are available enough that price action downward can happen, and happen quickly. But right now, that's not happening. Prices continue to climb. I think this set of cards, or these types of cards, are going to continue to perform well. And if you have things like this in your collection, you're probably looking pretty good right now, to be honest. How long does it last? Anyone that tells you they know that is lying to your face. Just always keep that in mind. Doesn't matter who you're listening to. I don't care who you're listening to, unless it's Marty McFly and Doc Brown and there's a DeLorean parked next to them. They're lying to you. They have no idea. We can make educated guesses. We can read the room. We can look at what's going on. Are these going up due to natural interest? More people going in? Is Topps 10xing the hobby? Is it from the repack bubble? Is it a little bit of column A, B, C, D, and E? Probably more that one than anything else. There's probably a lot of different reasons. But I don't know how long it's going to last. Maybe it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's 5 months. Maybe it's 5 years. Enjoy the ride while you're on it. Spend responsibly. Be careful out there, folks. As always, curious for your thoughts and comments down below. Catch you on the next one. Peace.